Well, initially, this restaurant, my idea was for this restaurant to be dedicated to the martial arts.
I do remember that now. It completely slipped my mind, but I do remember that.
I did judo when I was in the Army. There, my black belt. Went to Japan, competed with the Army judo team. And when I was in Japan working out at the Kodokan, got to meet a great sumo wrestler named Taiho. And about 6'4", 350 pounds, a world champion. Right. Yes. And he got to know the team, and he invited us to the sumo championships. And we've ringside seats and watched him throw some guy out of the ring and win the championship. And so I remembered that when we were designing this restaurant, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to dedicate this restaurant to the martial arts. Judo, jiu-jitsu, Hapkido, Taekwondo, and sumo. And so I'm now explaining to my wife this vision I have. And she says, well, what kind of cuisine? I said, well, the Oriental cuisine. And people love Chinese food, Japanese food, so we'll do that. And what kind of decoration? Well, this is what I visualize. Huge black and white photographs of various people doing martial arts, you know, karate and all of that. And I said, and I particularly want to feature the sumo guys. And she said, what? I said, well, the sumo guys. She said, wait a second. You're going to have in this restaurant,
I can see where this is going.
Huge black and white photographs of 500-pound guys sweating with diapers on, and you think that this is going to be appealing, particularly to women? And I said, am I wrong? She said, you're dead wrong. So that was the end of.
I can see that.
So then I'm driving one day, and I'm listening to the radio, and they're talking about someone who's visiting the Everglades. And it was so compelling that I said, the Everglades, why can't I dedicate the restaurant to the Everglades? And a very dear friend of mine named George Barley had created an organization called Save the Everglades. And I called George and I said, does that make any sense? He said, Harris, it makes a lot of sense. And use me, and I'll be as helpful as I can. So I started doing research on the Everglades. I started thinking about the Everglades. And I started visualizing. Now, my dad was an artist. I don't know if you've ever been to Jack's place.
Right? Yeah, Jack.
And he does all and I inherited some of that artistic ability. So I went to Music and Art High School in New York City, and I was going to go to Cooper Union, in fact. So I do have kind of an artistic bent. So I'm thinking, now what does the restaurant look like? I said, the first thing I want is a beautiful mural from dawn to dusk. Right?
Right.
And so Hellman Hurley were the architects, and I said, I'm thinking about this, and they said, we're going to have just the guy, and you were the guy.
Right.
And I don't remember the early conversations that we had, but I suspect
You were very specific in what you wanted.
Right.
You actually had different illustrations of kind of grouped works where it was an illustration where it wasn't a specific animal, but it was groups, and they just sort of organically came out of each other.
Right.
Without being a specific scene per se, so it was an interpretation of a day in the
So I did give you some good guidance.
Exactly.
And I visualize animals and all kinds of different creatures, and you started putting this together.
And it was really fun because it wasn't just the animals and the creatures, but it's the multiple textures and the depth of everything, and you know, if you look at the Everglades, you just see the sea of grass, but once you focus on it, there is so much there that you don't see at first glance.
And look at this. But there's something really very interesting that I do remember. You said to me, you know, I'm going to do this, and I'm really happy to do it. And you were working out at Disney, you were a bartender, as I recall. And you said, but I love to paint little bubbles.
Yes.
And I thought, boy, that's weird. But this guy wants to paint bubbles, and he said they will appear on the mural.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're okay with? I said, oh, yeah, bubbles, sure, why not? And there are your famous bubbles. Now, I don't know if you ever shared with me why you like to do bubbles.
Well, it became kind of a little signature trademark that I put on all my paintings. And how it all came about was I was working for a chain of nightclubs in Boston. I was responsible for all the artwork and the decor. And I had to do a real fast mural on the back wall for some kind of event. and it was raining. It was extremely humid, and the wall was sweating, and I couldn't get anything to stick on there. So I just started looking closely at the water drops on the wall. I said, I'll just do big water drops, and that's where it kind of all started. And there's just, it's a nice little trompe l'oeil. You know, they appear to rest on the surface, so it's a nice little effect. And I was telling Mary, it's also a little, like if I have a little goof that I can't fix, I just put a water drop there and kind of hide the goof.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So
it is your signature.
Yeah.
And I mean, this mural, as we were talking a little earlier, I actually went to your house where you're doing the work, and you did it in panels, and you can see the panels, and I was just overwhelmed by that. I think I might have asked, how do you match the panels up? Because you've done it so brilliantly.
Well, I worked on 3 at a time, and as I finished 2 complete ones, I would put them away, move the 3rd one down, put 2 up, and because of that, each panel almost is an individual painting in itself.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, I tried not to cut into the animals. Well, you know, I tried to really make each one an individual composition. So it's 11 small paintings as well as 1 big one.
It was just magnificent. Now there's something funny. I don't know if you're aware of this. But I asked you if you're working at Disney, and because I'd heard you were, and you said, yes, you were. And I assumed that you were in one of the art divisions, right? Yeah. And you said, no, I'm a bartender. And I said, well, how is that possible? I think you shared with me, well, I've interviewed, but I've never been able to move into, okay. So I got that story right. So I get a phone call one morning, and it's from a fellow named Dick Nunes. Dick Nunes was one of the big honchos out there, a real tough guy. And he said, Harris, I tried your new restaurant. I said, which one, Dick? He said, the Everglades. It is beautiful. And the mural is to die for. And I said, well, thank you very much. And he said, do you know anything about the guy? I said, yeah, well, he works for you. He said, for me? No, I know. He works out at Disney. Oh, my God, he's in our art department. No, Dick. What do you mean not? No, he's a bartender. You see, he hasn't been able to get into your art department. He said, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm not crazy. You guys are crazy. Look at this guy. So I don't know if he ever followed up. I don't know if ever anything happened.
It kind of followed up. I met with like the Scenic Shop at MGM and Central Shops, and it was at a time when Michael Eisner was subcontracting things out,
right,
and Disney wasn't doing that much in-house anymore.
Gotcha.
It was all being contracted out. But now, years later, about 10 years ago, I had decided that, you know, I was a server and a bartender, and one of the nice things, I ended up getting my sommelier certification during all that, so that's nice. Beautiful. And I said, I either can do this till I retire or quit now while I'm still young enough to do what I'm good at. So I left Disney. I hooked up with a company called Cinnabar here in Orlando, which is like one of the premier scenic shops in town.
Absolutely.
And I now run the paint and finish department for Cinnabar.
Oh my God.
So I'm painting all the time. I've spent a month in Macau, China, doing murals and special effects for one of the casinos there. And right now I'm finishing up a lot of things for the new Art of Animation Hotel at Disney. And you can see me on TV this Friday night on HGTV. There's a show called My Yard Goes Disney. And it's a makeover show where they take people's backyards and do them Disney-esque. And we're the shop that does it all.
So you are now where you kind of had hoped to be.
I love my job now.
So that's
I love it.
Well, I mean, this is just absolutely spectacular. When I saw the panels for the first time, I was absolutely blown away. I mean, the detail is just absolutely extraordinary. And the dawn, and the heron, and the flamingo, I guess, is in a manatee.
It's a rosette spoonbill, yeah.
It's a spoonbill, and that's right. We have the spoonbill over here.
There.
That's right. We incorporated them here. And so this restaurant really has a multitude of stories. And you, and this beautiful mural is why people keep coming back. The food is wonderful. The service is great. But they come to see this extraordinary work of art. So I just thank you so much. Never forget you. And we're just delighted that you did this for us.